I mean, to be fair, I haven't heard Chase yet. So
Oh
it's fair
yeah.
that Chase hasn't heard of me either. We must run in different circles.
Oh, you know what, dude? You know what's funny? Back when I was in agency, Chase was a villain. He was a villain to agency, right? Agencies used to,
Where's all this villain language coming from?
right? Because clients used to send videos of Chase and say, "Why don't we try something like this?" And the agencies would panic. They'd be like, "Oh no, this person is making us do some work, creating an expectation of us to, like, I don't know, run better ads." So yeah, Chase was a villain at a couple of agencies that I touched.
Nice, that's awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, I'd love to learn more, Chase, about what you've been up to, and yeah, your villain era to now. Just
I
kidding.
guess so.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, origin story, have an agency. We did a merger. It's still media now. And then Ads Mastery, it's like a consulting firm where we essentially train people on like TikTok Shop, Meta Ads, Shopify, e-commerce. And then Sirge is where we do like web dev for Shopify stores, like building out their actual website, CRO. We use a lot of AI there. We have AI audit tools, essentially scanning the website because we all know like, creatives are one part of the equation for ads and marketing and media buying and all that stuff. But after the click, like a lot of it really comes down to how good the LTVs are, the AOVs, conversion rate on the website, how scalable it is. So we really focus on like full funnel. So we're vertically integrated across all the companies. We also have Success AI, which I'm a partner in, which is like B2B SaaS. But yeah, that's essentially what we do.
I'm not sure I know Success AI. What's the core product there?
Yeah, it's like cold B2B outreach, like finding people's name, info. It's kind of like Zoom info.
Cool. Huh.
Yeah, we talked to, I forget who it was. There was somebody else we talked. What's up?
Ramsey or Nick?
No, sorry, I was thinking of somebody that's also kind of trying to compete against Zoom Info. It seems like that's kind of
it's Steven.
Steven. Okay, yeah. It's an interesting space, and it is. I'm curious, like what the angle is there, and what your thought is in terms of like why that is a better approach than Zoom Info, and like why this is the time to compete against somebody like a Zoom Info.
Yeah, for that specific software that we have, like right now, since we have so many e-commerce clients, a lot of them are using it for like wholesale and like doing email automation outreach for like getting like bulk buyers and stuff. But it's grown to, hundreds of millions of sessions on there now. So people are using it for a lot of different use cases. But like the initial premise of it was initially just as like a tool we were using internally.
I think the interesting thing about Zoom Info and the space that they play in is just how large that market is. It seems like there's so many players and they're all crushing it. They're all doing incredibly well.
It's like it's everybody, because every fucking company in the whole world has salespeople.
That's exactly what it is.
Like, it's like your TAM is literally everything. Like, it's like every B2B company ever is the TAM. So it's like you just have a big enough TAM that these things can exist. And I feel like most of these, the way they start, it's like same with like Steven's company. It's like they start with a niche and then you just like slowly build it up. Under the hood, like most of the data quality is sort of commoditized across the entire stack. And so you kind of like compete on pricing and then a little bit of product and then try to optimize like the data that you're buying or the data that you're collecting. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of these, like, I feel like it's like a niche that just like continues to reinvent itself as the same thing over and over again.
It's interesting too because as uh, AI also changes the rate at which you can start to send these kinds of messages to prospects too. So it's like it almost feels like it's creating more opportunity for this space and more demand for this kind of data access.
I mean, general data demand is going to go up, right? It's like if you look at even just like super relevant right now, it's like people setting up cloud bots and stuff like that. It's like, okay, now you have like another person. So you just multiply it a certain number of people by 2, in which you're saying like, hey, go and find this thing for me or go do this thing for me. And it will need data from somewhere to do X, Y, or Z. So yeah, I think data demand is like across the board. It's just going to go up. Some of it will get commoditized, but like overall demand is definitely going to increase.
Did you guys see this from Nikita? The Lobsters at the Gate is just fun, but he said something the other day about how like a lot of the tools that we use, this is it. In less than 90 days, all channels we thought were safe from spam and automation will be so flooded that they'll no longer be usable in any functional sense, and we'll have no way to stop it. I mean, this is a little bit doomer. I think it's kind of fun. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I already feel that way. I go through periods where I just don't even check my email. Like, what if you need me, you can call me. If I don't have your number, then text me. And if I don't know who you are, I'm not going to save you as a contact in my phone and I won't talk to you. Like, it's just like, it's so, I've really restricted like who I will speak to. If you're in Slack with me, obviously I'm going to communicate with you, but just like, I just ignore most communication. I don't know who you are because it's just not
Yeah,
worth it.
Slack and iMessage. Like emails done. LinkedIn, good luck. The only arbitrage that's like potentially left is like on any of these platforms having some sort of brand. Like for some reason I see notifications when like real verified profiles message me, you know? So it's like, I don't think that this is like, I mean, like my take on this is just like, it doesn't really matter. We're kind of already there.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like it's not gonna, that getting worse doesn't change how I operate really.
Right, 100%. You're already doing the filtering. So Chase, I kind of see you as like a polymath of ecom. You've got the consulting, you've got agency, you've got all these different things going on. What are you like most excited about? And what actually gets most of your time? Like when I think about people like Elon, I think Elon was probably one of the first to sound the alarm about bots and getting a little bit of authenticity in place so it's just not all noise. But when I think about him, I'm like, oh man, how does he do all these different things so incredibly simultaneously? And, you know, in a much smaller way, you're kind of like doing this in ecom. In every space that you can operate in ecom, you're in it and doing fairly well. So yeah, what are you most excited about?
Well, we're doing a lot with the personal brand. We're expanding our content team like crazy. We've been like staffing up editors and we're building out like a bigger content house. We're just literally looking at another space to expand the content. I feel like personal brand's like the biggest differentiator right now for most people because there is a lot of noise going on. Yeah, like Elon and people like those are huge personalities. But it also helps with attracting talent. Like the amount of intros I get or going into a conversation, somebody's already seen the content, like the door's already open. And they're already familiar with everything. So, I mean, I think personal brands are like the biggest play right now. And it's like the one moat that really holds the whole thing together. That's why influencers and all that stuff is like really still a big thing right now.
That's how you know it's a banger. That's silence afterwards. People are thinking.
But yeah. I mean, we're doing a lot of content. Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, like we're doing more M&A deals. So we have like a couple of LOIs out there. So we're doing roll-ups right now. We're, bringing in a lot of like power teams and just putting them in place with our companies. So, yeah, we just have a lot of LOIs out.
What kind of companies are you buying?
Like TikTok shop agencies, email marketing, smaller marketing firms, smaller SaaSes and rolling those up. Anything that's like can be vertically integrated or like build out. Like we're getting a lot of inflow. If we have a heavy amount of inflow for like people reaching out for a certain thing, then it's easier for us to just roll in a team and integrate. And like people are reaching out now, like the brands are getting so big that we're like speaking with a lot of them are all like they're doing distribution, like 30 million plus a year, trying to go to 100, 200, 300, $800 million a year and like getting a Walmart, Target and all that. So we were just having a conversation, lining up partnerships for like, streamlining that process because we kind of want to be the full vertical. You scale on e-commerce initially, spin up your website. We have it at the early stage, start advising them. They start getting management. And then now they're going retail, Amazon, TikTok shop. So we're really trying to cover all distribution channels possible because that's like how you can control the results the best anyways and like do it at stages. Because a lot of times people get focused on like one little thing and they're really good at it, which is great because you're solving one minor problem, like a conversion rate issue or like an email open rate or a specific tool. Like Foreplay does this really well. Like it's creative inspiration all day long and people love it. And it's what people are using it for and how we're using it. They'll have other use cases, right? But like it's the ad analysis and being able to like really diagnose like what's working and what's going on in the space and how long stuff is running. But then you have like, all the other stuff where people have to do it or create the content or, do the media buying or, come up with the messaging. So we're trying to like, be across all of those spaces at the same time to control the full narrative across the board, which helps, accelerate the process for us at least.
Yeah. Which of those things, I guess, like broader categories there, do you think is going to be least disrupted by AI over the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, least disrupted by AI. AI is moving into a lot of stuff right now. It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like AI is one-shotting some of these things out there right now too with what they're releasing. I don't think it's going to touch like service-based or like, the client relationship aspect. But then again, I see the AI calls and all that stuff happening now with voice, but I still think the personal relationship aspect is still going to be there to some degree. And then I don't think it's going to take over the personal brand at all.
AI is not going to like fly out to meet you and take you to a nice dinner or something. Like,
Yeah. I was also
fill it
thinking
out.
about this whole Claude bot thing, and I was trying to wrap my head of, or not the Claude bot, what is it called right now? I'm drawing a
Open
blank.
claw.
Open Claw. They keep renaming it to so many different things. There's like panic of like, is this going to replace like everything that everybody does, like the AI agent thing? But I think it's only going to amplify like what people are doing currently. I don't think like there's going to be like a one tool, like one bot that just does all media buying for everyone. Because the way that thing works is based off of like who's training it or the knowledge. Even if it has general knowledge, it's not super hyper specific. I think agencies and people will have those internal tools and will just amplify what they do best. And you hire their agency, you get their, open claw and their humans. And it's just an amplified version of what they're already really good at doing. So I just think it's going to make everyone better at what they do. But you're still going to have like a choice between different companies. Somebody's going to have a really good, open claw team for AI websites or, Google ads, but they're not going to have both. I just don't see them having like a one size fits all thing. I think it's just going to be very, very, specific to their current talent skill set internally.
I feel like the other thing that I realized the other day, I was just like thinking about it, it's like, if you just look at like the viral videos that are about a lot of these AI automation stuff, it's like always about saving a little bit of money, but it's never about making an exorbitant amount of money. And so it's like, it also kind of aligns my thesis on life, which is like, you can only save to zero. Like you quite literally can only save to zero. And so if your business was like, if the biggest optimization of your business is like removing the 4K a month retainer agency, it's like, well, what the fuck are you optimizing for anyway? Like this, you know what I'm saying? And so I yet have been able to see like, oh, this is how we're going to make boatloads more money. I've seen a lot of things like, okay, we can bring a couple categories to zero, but it's like, actually the impact of your business to do that is like almost nothing. And so I think the biggest distraction is figuring out I think everyone's brain right now is going to like, how can I save a bit of OpEx? But it's like, well, who gives a fuck about saving a bit of OpEx? Like you probably could have hired someone like 15 months ago to save you the same amount of OpEx that you will through like wasting your time setting up all these cloud bots. Like the thing I still haven't found is like the way AI is going to hyperscale a business that's not in AI, which I think is like something. I think that's like what everyone should be thinking about. It's like, how do we make more money, not save a bit more? Like this is like a stupid thing to optimize for.
But it's a lot less obvious, right? Like, I mean, this is validate your point here,
Yeah,
but like,
it's a hard conversation. Yeah, hard problem to solve.
It's very true. The framing of that is very accurate. Yeah, like reducing time, cutting talent. It's just a cost saving. That's how people are looking at it. That's a very valid point.
This is it. I think it's not obvious. It's not obvious. And I think that the cleanest example of a not obvious decision was Dr. Squatch's Sydney Sweeney campaign. They spent $12 million on a campaign that could only sell a maximum of like 40, 50K worth of product. Of course, it would have sold their wider inventory, right? And there were other goals to it. But I don't know, you plug in AI into that system and you say, hey, you know what we want to do? We want to sell Sydney Sweeney's bathwater. We only want to sell like, I don't know, 5,000 units. And this is going to cost us $12 million. I don't know if that's the sort of decision that you can automate, or if it actually requires ridiculous people sitting in a room going, fuck it, let's just do it. You know?
That's why I think it's an amplifier. It's just going to amplify things like that. It's
yeah. Those same people sitting there with AI asking like, what is the most ridiculous thing I could do in this context, and poking holes in things maybe helps you actually tune that concept a little bit more in a way that is helpful, but it's not going to generate that for you.
We're leaning into it though. At the same time, like we're adapting to this stuff and like integrating it. I like seeing a lot of this stuff that comes out. I mean, it's moving so fast at the same time. But like what I was saying earlier with the amplification, like that's what we're like kind of leaning in towards is like if we have ad copy frameworks or if we know there's like certain things that should be structured on a website, like a lot of it is repetitive action of just like, hey, you need to install this app. But a lot of that can be truly automated with the AI process, AI creative gen. Like there's like very specific things that we're like leveraging just to accelerate that whole process. And it is working.
This conversation is an interesting segue potentially into the conversation about blocks and their layoff yesterday. I am assuming you all saw that, the letting 4,000 employees go. Is this coming in mass in 2026? I'm curious what you all think. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the reasons for this seem kind of obvious in terms of like this is a publicly traded company and the stock price hadn't been doing well. And to your point, Zach, like it's really good at reducing costs like that. Whatever, I didn't look into what it costs them to run that business, but if you cut 40% of your workforce, it's going to cost a whole lot less to run the business. And obviously, like Jack doing this and the person that he is sends signals to the market. I haven't looked at the stock price today, but at least last night when I was looking at it, it was up 24% after hours.
I almost wonder if Jack just saw what Elon did to his company X after cutting all his staff and was like, oh, maybe I'm just like, have too much bloat in my companies and should just reduce it. And Twitter's like, or X is running on, 40 people when he had, hundreds of thousands of employees. It's like, maybe you should have just done that from the beginning.
Yeah, I think on face value, when you're acquiring all these different teams, a TikTok shop, an agency, an email agency, it can seem like you're actually doubling down on labor, right? But I don't think it is. Like if you think about the intricacies of a TikTok shop agency, they actually have a huge amount of access. There's a huge amount of unlock there that isn't to do with the people and the labor. It's to do with the capital, right? The access that you've unlocked by acquiring the agency. I know a few people who are like platform experts. They're just really good at Klaviyo, or in their mind, they think they're really good at Klaviyo, or they're really just like, they can only really use one tool and they built their whole career around that. I worry about those people. I don't think acquiring those people is valuable at all. Because I don't know. I think that those will be the people who get automated out first. I think the context of Jack is pretty interesting because obviously he's, I'm not sure if you guys have heard the story about how he acquired Tidal. But I think he was on a boat partying. And he got a call from Jay-Z and he was like, fuck it, let's just buy Tidal. So he's a pretty like out there kind of guy, eccentric founder, CEO type.
Essentially what happened in the last 2 weeks is that software companies were priced differently in the public markets than they are previously. So right now the public markets are favoring capital expenditure for some reason, because essentially what Anthropic did. And the way that you used to underwrite a software company in the public markets, which was, all of these people writing all of this code is going to be valued at a certain amount in the future. It's going to produce this much free cash flow, is no longer true anymore. And so those humans are no longer worth what they were worth in the public market. That's the only thing that changed. And then the other thing that multiplied this decision to make it easy is that a lot of developers aren't writing all too much code anymore. They're just not doing as much as they're not sitting there writing, which means that it opens up the ability to do more by having multiple tabs open and working on multiple features at once. And now I think this is kind of an ongoing joke at this podcast, but we now have multiple friends that have bots that are fixing bugs and then pushing them into Slack and being like, do you want me to push this live from the moment that a bug was reported all the way through fixing it. So it's you have a bunch of people that are not as valuable as they once were, tactically and in the market. And so this was a really good move, obviously.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that that might be one of the challenges of being a dev right now in this environment is that you've moved from a state of extreme comfort, right, for a really long time. And comfort not being challenged on a day-to-day basis is the best way to dull someone's edge, to make them really incapable of adapting to new situations, to changing environments. So I mean, I would hate to be one of those people who builds very slowly and is paid very well to build very slowly, because now everyone can build, and they can build very quick, and they can build very well. And that's only going to increase. But I also think that, there's potential that the easiest problem to solve through automation and AI, customer service, is also one of the heaviest, in terms of headcount of, I would imagine, in a business like Blocks, roles, right? I could see them having so much customer support, and that's all automated away, and also doesn't have the same risk, right? Real customer support agents at organizations like Blocks are actually at risk, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of customer support teams selling customer information or stealing from customers at businesses like Blocks. So moving towards automation actually hardens them, right? Makes them a little bit stronger while cutting a huge amount of headcount. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a significant amount of these employees that were cut, this 40%, was customer support.
The thing that I think it was the CFO added some comments too, so separate from that note, but said something to the effect of, we believe we can move faster with a smaller team. And I think that's an underrated aspect of this too. Like there's something about, there's the complexity of making change gets harder and harder the more people you have to get to buy into that change. And I don't know, 6,000 people still sounds crazy to me in terms of like managing change in that context, but I suppose it's easier than managing it with 10,000 people. And so maybe that might actually be one of the most important factors in this decision. Oh, also, sorry, one more thing that I thought was really interesting. He mentioned making one deep cut as opposed to lots of small cuts over time. I actually think that's a really important piece of this too. Like, I mean, as somebody who just had to go through layoffs, and like that was one of the things that we thought about, was like, hey, we could do small cuts. We could kind of like slowly work our way towards this, but that's extremely demoralizing. And I don't want people to be sitting there 6 months from now saying, am I getting cut soon? That doesn't help anybody. It's better to cut deep and then fill the gaps than to have to do that many times over a period of several years. I think, anyway, I thought that was really interesting. I actually think that is the right thing. It kind of sucks. It's like, it really sucks if you're one of those people. Probably you would have preferred to have a job for another year, but at the same time, like the alternative isn't good either. There is no good scenario there. So yeah, it is interesting to see that. But I think like the cutting deeper, being more generous in the short term, all that stuff is the better approach ultimately.
Chase, what's so interesting? We're talking now about like cutting talent and cutting labor. Tech companies sort of uniformly doing this in huge swathes, right? Every big tech company seems to be just headcount down, right? But you're acquiring service-based businesses. You're acquiring headcount across these different businesses that you're buying. How does this make you feel? I feel like you're just focused on building. You're like, I want to build the biggest thing, the best thing.
When we acquire these companies, a lot of time they have bloat. Like it's just like there's usually like a handful of talented people doing like a majority of the work, and we end up cutting like a majority of the team anyways when we bring them on, because we can still handle it with our teams and our capacity. And I think a lot of people think they're at capacity, but they're not. Like there's so much more work that can be done in a day. And if you literally just like in office, that's why I'm like big on in-office environment and making sure all of our teams, it's like a requirement. Like we're looking at another space now to like make sure the teams are in person, because you just realize like there's so much more work that can be done in a given day. And with the AI advancements and all that stuff, like you can literally get a ton done. And if you're really talented, like you're like more than just a superstar. But there's a lot of people who just do maintenance work. And maintenance work to me it's bloat. Like a maintenance work is no production for us. Like maintaining stuff just doesn't mean anything to us. It's really just like who's actually moving the ball forward across all verticals. Like we're spinning up like, we're pushing sprints on like getting features launched and, acquiring teams and then cutting, and then like who's really the talented people. And you'll pretty much realize if you really sit down like with people, it's pretty obvious to spot. But I don't know if people are even comfortable with cutting. I have no problem with it. I think people like, there's management layers and then they bring on friends or they bring on, people give them a role and there's really not enough to do. They thought they needed the role. It's like, we needed this like one thing solved and then like it's solved. And it's like, what are they? Like, I really like people who can do like the whole thing extremely well and like progressively get even better over time.
That's it. Hey, progressively getting better. Because I think that like with a lot of the AI automation, I mean, I'm sure you saw this on LinkedIn. Suddenly every post looked exactly the same, full of M dashes, full of contrast negation. It's not this, it's that. And like that, those were the early adopters. Those were the people who were trying to maximize potential. Now, actually, a lot of those people who were doubling and tripling down on X and LinkedIn with their, AI slop, they were getting a lot of clients in the process, right? They were actually doing meaningful work, even though it was kind of the worst. I mean, I'm not sure if you've tried to read these posts, but I'm like, oh man, how could you do this with your name attached to it? You know, with your face and your name attached to this post with all these M dashes and cheesy AI prose, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think that's sort of a balance right now. It's like, how do you use these tools, but use them adaptively to create something that's great, right? We just launched an ad. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Chase. It's like a bunch of Africans dancing around saying how much they love foreplay. It's crazy, right? We've got so many messages from our customers saying that we're lunatics for it.
It's crushing.
It's like the least AI. No, is it crushing? No, it's not crushing at all. It's like it's hardly getting any spend in our account. But I thought it'd be funny, and I saw one of those. I'm not sure if you guys get these ads every now and then. It's like a bunch of like people, Africans dancing around saying like "Happy Birthday" or something for someone. So I was getting these ads, or at least my girlfriend was showing me them, and I was like, oh, we should do one of these before play. Do you want me to show you it?
Why does every software and agency always use memes and like GIFs and funny stuff for their ads?
That's a good question, eh? I think it's because it's easy to communicate really complicated things. Keen to hear what you think, Jeremiah, but I think that like most software, and especially as it ages and it deepens, it's really hard to explain what the thing does fully. So you kind of have to just like dumb it down to the consumer level, especially when that person is consuming. They're just like scrolling through their feed, and make it like fun to engage with and compete with like funny cat videos. That would be my take. Also because it's fun. Like, I don't know, scripting that foreplay ad with the Africans was just so much fun. So I don't know. That's kind of why we do it.
Yeah, I basically done no paid ads. But we're going to experiment a little bit. What's interesting though is the things that like we tried posting just organic social, the memes and things like that. And I don't know, it wasn't that effective. It just kind of like there's hardly any engagement. But we start posting data and telling stories about like, and actually, case studies aren't that effective either, to be honest. I think they are for very specific use cases, but you go tell the story about how data is saying that this ad platform is really effective and here's why. That becomes really compelling and people latch onto that, ask questions about it, repost it, all that kind of stuff. So that stuff is way harder to produce, but ultimately I think, I don't know, to me, that's what I've seen be the most effective in software is being able to tell stories like that. As opposed to the meme stuff. But I haven't tried running paid ads, so unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of idea of how effective that is.
How about for you and your software companies, Chase? What have you found? No memes?
We don't do any memes or like comedic stuff. No. We flex like either talent or like knowledge or like really complicated anything that's like new strategies that are crushing it that have not been fully discovered. Like a big bulk of our business is Facebook media buying, but everyone's doing it for the last 10 years. Everybody sounds the same. Like we're good at it, but yeah, a lot of other people are too. That's fine. But like TikTok Shop or UGC automation, like building affiliate armies, like that's around, but people don't know how to just magically spin up 2,000 creators, and it's extremely valuable. So like we lean into the stuff that like is like either a new feature or a new idea, new strategy that is working, that's like making waves. And then people will come in for that, and then they find out all the other things that we offer, which everybody else also probably has. But because we're, the intro for the gate point is stuff they have not done or not tried. And they're curious about it or have not learned. So we try to be very innovative and also very forward thinking about what's coming up, like with Manus and how, Meta's acquired that, or, OpenClaw, like actually knowing about it and then seeing who's doing strategies, testing it, finding out if it works. Then we have like a rule, like if it works for like a handful of people, we'll go to 30. And if it works extremely well for those 30, then it'll be a mass rollout. If it doesn't make it past that point, we just like, it's just not a strategy we're going to apply like across all companies. But we want to do the stuff that people are interested about. Like we know like UGC automation, we know like building affiliate armies, we know like, these paid collab ads. We know the AI angles. AI is just a buzzword in general. People get excited about. Like those are great lead magnets for pulling people in. But like your core service, your bulk of your business may not be that thing because it is new. Like why would that already be your number one? But you're talking about that. And it's the entry point. So I think like when you launch new innovative things, like that's like the push, right? That like attracts people, but then you have all the other stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. Jack, I wonder if part of the reason that stuff works for you all is because that like is your product. Not you specifically, but the ad, it's so tightly connected to what you actually do. So, and for me, I think maybe that's part of the reason why the data angle works so well is because that's so tightly connected to what we actually do. So you can actually see like the compelling, we are actually distributing the thing that you want to go and find out for yourself. So
I should say that the African ad, if anyone goes and watches it, it's not working for us. It's not getting any spend. And we actually haven't had like a meme ad that's, or a meme of any kind that's brought a huge amount of new customer acquisition to us. Our best acquisition channels are definitely partnership ads, with the primary identity being the creator by far.
That's what we're saying.
Right. And then the network effects of it as well. We try to encourage our partners to use common triggers, right? Give away some sort of lead magnet, gets people engaging, gets it organic distribution even before we put a ad spend behind it. It generates leads for them as well as us. So it's like serves both parties. We have a couple e-commerce / marketing influencers, people who are very well known in the space and renowned, who are generating leads for their own businesses. But after like a week, 2 weeks, the organic distribution drops off, right? People stop commenting, people stop sharing. That doesn't happen when you run it as an ad as well. So I think I think it kind of comes back to the core of what an ad is. An ad's just paid distribution on content to people who are likely to meaningfully engage with it, perform whatever the optimization event is. Whereas content is, distributed based on like who's engaging with it and what's going to maximize user retention on the platform. So yeah, if you can combine the best parts of both of those things, that seems to be what works best for us. But man, it's fun to hire some Africans and get them to dance around.
I think I know what you're talking about now. I just looked at it on the ad library. I saw the video. I see those guys on TikTok all the time. But yeah, I mean, another thing is like the angles of like the I wonder, like what people wonder about, like how is that possible, or how does somebody do something, or how does this get achieved? Like for instance, like an Elon Musk uses like Sleep 8. It's like a sleeping mattress, and people wonder how Elon's able to operate and do all this stuff and get good sleep. He's not out there promoting 8 sleep, but just the fact that he uses the product and then that could be framed from their company as an ad. It's like, how does he, that's not the thing that's making him do everything, but it's the question in the back of their mind of like, how is he performing at those levels? Is it sleep? Well, then all of a sudden the curiosity buffer hits, and then now people are going and buying the product. So it's like, it brings people in, like you want those like weird, unique cases where people are like, how is this company running 2,000 ads? I can't find a creative team that can produce that many. And it's like, well, there's actually this other automated system in the background that you just have never heard of. And that's like, wait, is that what that is? I'm going to go get that now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are people doing at scale that is like really, really hard shit to do that seems extremely challenging to solve, and people keep batting around trying to figure it out. And then you framing that as like, well, it's, it could be this, or this is what it is. And then people are like, wait, that's what I need. And they jump so quick.
I like that focus on what people are actually paying attention to and what people are interested in right now. Even if it's not your core thing, it's not the bread and butter of the agency, the service-based business. It's something that you will jump on, find and extract the arbitrage while it's available, continue to do your bread and butter things. Maybe this becomes a service that lasts a long time, or maybe it becomes a service that dies off and isn't sustained. And that's fine, because there isn't always arbitrage, there isn't always value in a new hack, growth hack for forever, right? So sometimes these things die off. I like that approach. I think it's smart. Makes sense. You're giving the market what they want, right? You're letting them say, hey, I'm interested in this. And you're saying, we're going to figure it out for you. I think by the same measure, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, Chase. I'm not interested in image ad generators at all. I saw a video the other day and some guy was like, I spent 10 hours vibe coding with Claude, this image ad generator. I was like, oh, you too? Like, why is everyone doing this simultaneously? Like, someone's going to solve it and it's going to be free because everyone's building it and they want the user base, right? So they can upsell something else that has, is able to retain its marginal value, right? But
my passion project is that too.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, well, that's it. Building stuff is fun.
I don't know. I see it everywhere too, but I'm trying to, because there's so many AI creative gen tools out there, and like we try them all and they're all half, like they never do what you want them to do. Here's the thing, the problem with creative gen tools that drives me insane. You like Nano Banana Pro, insane gen tool, Higgsfield, crazy stuff. Like there's so many good creative gen tools out there, but when you give it a product, it'll change the text on it, it'll resize it. And then you can't get like the consistency aspect. It's like, no matter how much you prompt, like to get like a full blast of like 200 ads, the AI just gets off track constantly. Like you're always having to put guardrails on this stuff. Even with like Google's latest one, what is that new tool called they just launched?
They just launched Nano Banana 2, I think. So that's the one after Nano Banana Pro.
There's another one that's for like ad creative gen.
No way.
Started with like a P. Anyways, but they launched it and I was like, oh man, like this might have just killed my passion project. And I was like, fine, I'll just go with this one. And I go and try it and it's the same thing. It still messes up the text. So like,
right.
The AI tool has to be able to render perfect text. And by the way, AI doesn't type the text. Like when you go in a Word doc and you choose Times New Roman, it types Times New Roman. You will get Times New Roman text. When you tell AI, make Times New Roman text, it looks at the Times New Roman text and it draws it. And it doesn't always get the exact serif and, sans correct. It looks similar. AI only looks similar to what you give it. It doesn't take your product and paste it in somebody's hand. It redraws it. So that's where you get inconsistencies. And all AIs have that problem. So I'm like trying to figure out the layering aspect of it, of like, like actually being able to composite, render, shadow grade, and do this in a layering sequence. So that way it comes out exactly how we want our formats with gridlocked positioning. Because if I say, hey, make me a features and benefits ad, and it throws 3 icons at the bottom, and then I say, make me another one, it's going to throw the 3 icons on my product label. And that's not my product label. I don't want that. So there's no consistency there. So there has to be a gridlock system that like hard locks what's allowed and what's not on these things. And nobody's doing that right now. And I'm just like on the side when I have 1 hour a day, and my fiance gets mad at me on the weekend because sometimes I'll like sit 8 hours just tinkering around with this stuff, just playing with it. But it's fun, but everybody's doing it. But it's cool to like try to figure that kind of stuff out. But it still is a major need. But there's so much inconsistencies in it. You say, hey, make me a studio paper backdrop with my product, and it puts literal studio lights in the photo. And it's like, no, I wanted the lighting of the studio, not the studio lights. Like, how insane that is, like going back and forth with these prompts and you just time suck your, hours just trying to get one thing right when you could have just went and done the photo shoot. So the goal for us is like, since I've been working on a little bit of this stuff, it's like, how do you gridlock this thing and like actually force it to always put out perfect consistency?
Yeah. Well, you need that for a software product, right? This is one of the main reasons we don't have image gen or any sort of gen in foreplay. And we thought about like, imagine you have a foreplay board open, and you could drag your product onto an image, and then you would generate like X number of variations. The problem is the consistency. And that's why I would never build in the creative space anyway. You're completely reliant on the model for the upper end of what it can do, and then the reliability of what it can do. So even if the upper end is incredible, right, now your customers are relying on you for the reliability, but it's not in your hands.
Yeah.
It's in the model's hands.
Any AI tool that we're making right now with AI and human, interaction, like we're not selling it at the moment. Like it's just being given away for free. It's like we spin it up. It's not like, it's just a feature test. It's like, hey, do you like what we just built here? We're not charging for these things or look at these as like, our 10 mil ARR, next golden goose. It's like, what's sticking? How do you actually get this to a point where, it's worth something?
Jeremiah is going to laugh at me now because we just had a call about the different things that I'm working on. But and I didn't tell him about this, but I've got another brand and I've got this branding agency that I'm working on it that we're going to be launching soon. And I don't know what sort of magic they're doing to generate these images, but they're doing such a good job. I'm like falling in love with our AI models.
Is this a shirt that's been pasted onto an AI model?
Yeah. The shirt and the shorts are both.
Zoom all the way in on the font. Let's look at it.
Yeah, but that's it, right? Can you see it's a little bit messed up here?
But what's it actually say?
Does the customer care, right? Does the customer care? I don't know, right? Is this passable for the customer? They did this like I think 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half ago. So the models are getting better, and I imagine the consistency is going to get better, and maybe we should be delaying some of this work for a little bit later so that it can be more accurate. But I don't know. If you don't zoom in and you start here.
That's the thing, right? Because features on a person are like, no 1-2 people ever are a perfect clone of themselves. Forget the twin thing, but just like even a hair, like you're not going to have the exact amount of hair. So it's like you can have really good AI models, but if your logo is your logo, it should never change.
Right.
That's what drives me nuts is like when you have the AI product get changed, the AI model's looking stellar, but you just don't know because there's no reference of knowing if it's an AI at this point.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, like, especially in a service capacity, you can't deliver that sort of thing as a deliverable to a client because they're gonna be like, "What the hell? Our logo's messed up." I'm like, I don't think customers are going to care. Let's run it, right? Hey, this looks awesome. But yeah,
that's like the Olympics thing when they like used AI for that, and the logo got overlapped. But they're like the hardest sticklers about like their trademarks and like their brand kits and their styling. It's the Olympics. But then like the logo colors were wrong because the AI, nobody caught it. Or somebody just like, maybe they won't care. And they just went past like creative review.
It is interesting. Yeah, because Chase, I don't know exactly what your software products are, but the thing that I find really challenging right now is that a customer can now connect their OpenClaw bot to our API. And we'll just use ecommerce as an example. They can connect to the API, they can pull the data out they want, and they can build a dashboard to show that information however they want for themselves, right? It's a single use case. They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it exactly the way they want it to be for themselves. The problem when you're building software is you're doing it for 1,000 people at the same time. And so you can't just let it be whatever somebody wants it to be. There's obviously ways you can kind of get to this, but the challenge ends up being it's the same thing we're talking about here. Like you have to have this consistency, and then when you take it and apply it to a single use case where you are the person who is in control of it, you may not care if something's off a little bit in this data here, or this chart doesn't look quite the way you want it here, or whatever that is. And you can craft it to be exactly what you want it to be, or at least 95% of that, and you're okay with that 5% gap. But that doesn't work when you're trying to figure out how do you make this work across 1,000 different customers at the same time. And I think that's the thing that's extremely hard for all of us who are building things at scale, whether you're serving clients or building software, whatever it is. You can't use the same methodologies that you can just go vibe code something with.
That's given me so many more ideas of like, that actually was soothing for me. You saying that stuff. I'm just like thinking about I just have a lot of thoughts now. I like that. That's a really good way of saying it.
I think that's the customer's main gripe with Facebook Ads Manager, right? It's responsible for so much of the economy, as to serve so many people. So it can't be perfect for anyone. It has to be like passable, usable for so many people. In come a bunch of vibe coded ad launches.
Yeah, people can find 1,000 ways to spend 1,000 different use cases for a thing. Like, yeah, it could be mock-ups. It could be for a company presentation. Maybe it doesn't matter. Like when we're looking at it, it's like we're trying to solve one specific problem that we know our same catalog of thousands of clients have. And it's like we know we have these 1,000 clients, and we know there's going to be plenty more that want to solve that exact issue. But to Jeremiah's point, like it's like, well, what may not what may seem like an issue isn't necessarily always an issue for maybe another 50,000 people and they don't care. And maybe that's the difference between adding, exponential more revenue. Maybe that's why OpenAI is OpenAI, right? So it's up for self-interpretation. Um, but I really like the super like dialed in, what's the one solve? I like the one solve things too, because that's where I can get the exponential value out. And then how do I, connect that to another thing where it's like, well, this does this part, then this does this part, and layer those all in together.
I like that. Yeah.
There's two ways of looking at it. I like your point of view though, Jeremiah. That thought process seems bigger to me. It's like, it seems more big picture thinking.
Yeah, it's like how do you enable both? I think that's the question I'm trying to ask myself. Is like, what does that look like to let a customer do it however they want to do it, but also let it work in sort of the base case for everybody. I don't know the answer to that yet, but it's not simple.
Yeah, you just rewired how I think on that.
That is a balance to strike, right? Jeremiah was talking the other day about my Shopify app. And a big part of my Shopify app is building for people who don't want unlimited options, right? Most analytics tools out there are flooding you with thousands of numbers that are like begging for your attention. And the reality is you don't need to pay attention to 1,000 different numbers. There's just a few that are really important to use to educate good decision making, right? So it's a process of filtering down information as opposed to, letting you create 1,000 different types of graph with all these different customizations. Shopify, any analytics tool you can think of is already doing that for you, right? And they're all in competition with each other for feeding that appetite for a never-ending, desire for more numbers, right? But I think that sometimes making things simpler for people, like you said, Chase, and solving a specific problem, really niching down is, I hope in this case, helps people, right?
Yeah, I just look at it like because we're vertically integrated, like somebody will come to us like at zero, and then we'll be working with a company that's doing $100 million a year. They have two totally different objectives, way different problems. It's incomparable, but at every stage we're still there all the way through. And like a brand will come to us that's like 8 years ago, that's now finally at the $30 million stage all that time later, but we don't want to like start there and then all of a sudden like they're not going to come back at the end. We want to be at every stage, and so it's like we're each bottleneck at every layer. What is the like one key thing that people run into as they hit each like point? Is it inventory forecasting, or is it a conversion rate? Is it a creative team issue? Is it a hiring thing? Like we want to know all those like every detail, and we know the stages as people are hitting them. And then like going from 30 million to 100 million online is a lot more challenging than going to 30 million to 100 million just penetrating retail real quickly, because you already have the social virality. So it's like we're always looking for the fast pass there too. So I always look at it as like, where's the one big problem that starts to really pile up, and then I just want to go figure that one out.
I guess we can wrap up. I just have a curiosity question for you. Like, what's the weirdest space, the weirdest problem you found that you guys have approached? Like, have you approached how do we tackle tariffs? Like when that comes up, is there like a space that you never thought you would enter?
Policy and stuff like that, I don't try to touch. Anything that's like way too dynamic that can be like messed with by policy, I tend to stay away from. Like we like to stay really compliant on things, but like tariffs and stuff, I don't try to enter in a space like that and say, oh, we need to solve this and find a workaround, because I know that stuff flips so quickly. Anything that's like political or has like, government involved or policy, like that stuff is so wishy-washy. Even with fulfillment, I don't like touching fulfillment. I don't ever want to get into that. Shopify did it. It was a horrible mistake. They tried to, build out all these warehouses and do the inventory management for their clients. That was a horrible disaster. They fired the guy who came up with the idea. They lost a ton of money doing it. TikTok just tried to do the exact same thing. Everybody's freaking out. What do? They're going to force everybody to then have their products sent to the TikTok warehouses. They're going to manage fulfillment because they want to compete with Amazon's warehousing, because Amazon has their shipping on lock and TikTok wants to compete with them. So they're going to do it. Right. And I was like, it was another horrible move in my mind. I was like, there's no way this is happening. And it is. And everybody's panicking. And I was like, I'm not even going to go into this because I just know this is going to be a disaster. Literally a week ago, they sent out an apology letter and says, after all the feedback we got, this was a horrible idea by the TikTok team. We're not going to force this anymore. It's like anything to do with policy or like really, really big stuff around fulfillment or logistics, I don't like to get near because I know it changes at the flip of a switch.
Right.
And like imagine building for something and then all of a sudden the next day they're like, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Hey. Yeah. I was talking to someone recently who's building an ad launcher. One of the seas of people building a meta ads launcher to launch ads a little bit faster, or not use media buyers or VAs or whatever it is. And I said that I think that the game here in software is you've got to build to solve a really expensive problem the best, as best as you can. And then you've got to work on distribution, because it's not just having the best product. It's also about like actually getting people to use it. That's most of the game. You've obviously got to solve the problem incredibly well. It has to be an expensive problem, not a really cheap problem that is already solved for the most part at every organization that's got their shit together, right?
Or
yeah.
taking a really fragmented space and consolidating it.
Yeah. Good shout, man.
Like think about how many times people bounce in between ad libraries. You just go to Foreplay and it's all right there.
That's a good shout, hey. We need to get Google in.
Yeah, where's Google?
But dude, this was great. This was a good conversation.
Well, this is exciting. Yeah, this is great.
I'm sorry that Rashad couldn't come, but I think we had, a great conversation. I think it'll be a good one.
We should do more of these. I like these. These are fun.
Talk soon, dude.